have no idea what you're about. Tell me in a sentence who you are.
I'm nobody. I'm a tramp, a bum, a hobo. I'm a boxcar and a jug of wine. And a straight racer if you get too close to me.
Believe me, if I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left.
Imagine, if you would, a world that is steampunk, in which steam has just recently been discovered and is almost viewed as a type of magic. This is a look at an audition for such a roleplay that I had been involved in previously. And out of the auditions for the role of the king of this land that is now governed by steam power, right? I overcame the adversities and was granted the role of king. Here is the audition piece for the sadistic king who loves games very much. King Damien, the second of the first, spent the third part of his day in his game chambers, playing a rousing game of human chess, while he himself sat upon a chair of a woman, bent onto her hands and knees as she held the king up with her back. Head cast down while he remained, legs crossed one over its other, and face placed onto his milk-white gloved hand. He tapped his fingers against the side of a mask, one of many. It held little more than a bemused grin painted over it, and eye slits carved into its surface. A frail man, looking to be highly concerned over such a simple game, stood at the other end of the large room, the pieces standing stark nude in their positions on the painted game board. Ho ho ho! Even a clever fox can but only out-clever a cleaver for too short a time. A few bodies had already lay bloodied on the floor, either dead or abused beyond the ability to stand. Guards, of course, stood at the ready, as this game of games, one among many that the king so did enjoy, as a reward of victory over another. Prisoners of war stood among some of his own criminals captured. The rules were simple enough. The king had taken the lovely ladies from the last conquest that he selected at his whim for his own amusement, and of course allowing the smartest of their men to hold their fate in his hands with the form of a game. Both this man and Damien were to play this game using their pieces in the form of chess. However, conquest in this game could be considered far more rewarding for those playing, as his criminals were allowed to do whatever they pleased should they be moved to take one of the opposing female pieces. The same could be said for the opponents, however, as they could always request the man they best be killed right then and there. Compliments of the armed guards. A request that usually only took a few conquered from his side to be frequented by the opponent. Finally, the man commanded one of his females to make a move, one of little surprise, as another of the king's men was selected as a target and thus became the next to lay dead on the floor, as the weeping, womanly trash requested his death. Although the king couldn't care less for what reasoning she had to add toward it, for justification or otherwise, a guard promptly moved over to the man before he could plead or run, thrusting a metal staff through his gut and twisting it a few times until removing and allowing the criminal to fall to the floor in a pool of blood and shakes. Removing his mask, the king gave a slight chuckle at the death of his horseman. He was a fun piece to watch while it lasted. The king did ever so enjoy making the more endowed criminals his horsemen, as it humored him to watch them conquest enemy females. However, as rewarding as some might find this game, there were also the penalties of failure. His was simply one they would have to bear. Ah, yes, you really must believe beyond belief. That which is relinquished within victory's grasp will soon be within yours. How quaint! It was true that his criminals could potentially have their fun. However, even for a game like this, there needed to be reasons for the opponents to play their part. Without question, should any of them had tried to run or failed to play their part, they would all be taken and spent a night with the prisoners. The ones who survived the night would simply be taken the next day to play the game over again, and if more pieces were needed, he would simply take more from whence they came. On the other hand, should the unfortunate young man actually best him, the ones who had not been conquered were free to leave back to their lands. However, dead or alive, those already conquered within this game would become the property of King Damien to do as he pleased. And oh, did he ever please when it came to the beautiful of women. Ordering one of his men to move over to an opposing target, it seemed it was yet another conquest, as the criminal took hold of his new victim and began to ravage her helpless body, while the others watched in horror, although the king had to wonder if it was really horror. Perhaps some were even aroused by watching those they knew being taken advantage of, knowing they could possibly be next. It was always humorous when the females began to enjoy it. The look on those who had thought they knew them for years was always obscenely wonderful. Rubbing at the gruff stubble of chin hair with a grin, the king tapped at his knee with his free hand while waiting for his piece to finish its conquest. They did love to take their time, though. He couldn't blame them. So, that was the audition piece that won me the position of king of this really messed up kingdom of Steam. Hope you enjoyed that.